In this episode of Restore It, I give the engine and gearbox from the Mercedes a deep clean and restore some of its parts as requested by the owner. The plan was to have it ice blasted, but due to it being such a small job, I had to wait until one of the ice blasting companies had left over ice from a larger job, like a factory or someone's house. So I thought in the meantime I might as well strip off the parts that are going to be replaced or cleaned up separately and steam clean everything else attached to the block to make it easier for the ice blaster and to see where the rust is, something I've been told the dry ice won't remove. Before that, I wanted to give the steam cleaner a better chance by soaking the non-electrical parts in non-caustic degreaser. Once I had been around a few times with the steam, it was dry before I could get it on the table, which is one nice thing about steam. I just wish it was more powerful, which is why I'm excited to see the results of the blasting. I could now more easily see the rust that needed to be removed, and also remove the parts without getting as dirty. Overall though, the steam cleaner did quite a good job of removing all of the oil and some of the built up grime. Up next was to remove anything that needed repainting, replacing or derusting. Some of these parts are going to be replaced with new ones, and some I'm going to bring back to a factory fresh look. I'll also be laying out all of the new parts I had ordered by this point later on in the episode. I'm going to start by removing this very non-original red paint from the rocker cover, but before we do that, I just have a very quick word from our sponsor, Get Roman. When things go wrong with our cars, be it the engine or the tyre pressure, for the most part we take care of it. However, when something's off in the bedroom, we tend not to think about it, and we all know what happens when we ignore our problems. They just get worse. So let's take care of ourselves as much as we take care of our cars, and that's where Get Roman comes in. With Roman, you can get a free online evaluation and ongoing healthcare for ED, all from the comfort and privacy of your own home. A US licensed healthcare professional will work with you to find the best treatment plan for you, and if appropriate, medication will be shipped to you in discreet packaging with free 2-day shipping. Getting started is super easy. Just go to getroman.com/restore and complete an online visit. And if you do so by clicking my link at the top of the video description, you'll get $15 off your first order of ED treatment. Now is always the best time to hit this kind of thing head on, and with Roman it's easy. So if you've been putting it off, change that today with Get Roman. Big thanks to Get Roman for sponsoring this episode. Let's get back to the engine. Using some random paint stripper, I brushed it on with a paintbrush before swapping to a steel one to really get that paint shifting. Once most of it was loose, I placed it inside this handy thing and rinsed it off, capturing all of the death water in the process. I then finished it off with the rotary tool and steel wire bits, making sure to remove any old leftover gasket. The hardware for a lot of these parts I removed were rusty and in need of a new zinc coating. I wire wheeled them on the bench grinder before electroplating them and hanging them up to dry for 48 hours. Undoing the horrible silver paint look on the exhaust manifolds was made easy with the shot blaster. I then polished the mating surfaces to remove the old gasket and any rust. Up next, I removed this engine mount so I could get better access to the engine block for repainting. I gave it one more clean using pressurized engine degreaser before using a rust converter on the entire surface. Whilst that was doing its thing, I removed some paint from the bell housing that shouldn't be there and cleaned up the cylinder head. I could then paint over the converter with the engine paint and use the first coat as a primer for the second one. The starter motor and the alternator had some light surface rust that needed to be removed / converted and then painted over. My camera kept dying, so it didn't record the painting, but you can imagine it looks something similar to this. I could then remove the masking tape and feel better knowing that the silver paint made to look like shiny metal wasn't on these manifolds. The final job for this episode was to remove as much of the rust from the engine and gearbox as possible using the rotary tool and sandpaper. I started at the gearbox and worked my way forward. I'll show you the final results of that at the end, but before that, here are some of the new parts that will be fitted once the ice blasting is done, as well as all of the parts cleaned up in this episode. And here's the engine. It looks a lot better than what it did before, but still some way from being finished. I'm still waiting for some new parts to arrive, as well as the blasting day to roll around. So just one more episode on this engine before it will be ready to go back in, and then not long until the mega welding episode is out and we'll be on our way to painting and rebuilding. I'm looking forward to it and to sharing it with you. Thanks for watching, I'll see you next time.